Hey y'all! This is me, Nana4673. I'm trying new intros, I'm not sure how it's working. And welcome to Meeting in the Flesh, a completely ordinary, normal dating sim where you date completely ordinary, normal human dudes. Um, this is day 2 of the kind of a little Black Lives Matter thing I'm doing where I play games from the bundle of for racial justice and equality that you can get on itch.io, where I'm trying to promote the bundle, where you for only $5 can get over 740 games, and more are being added every day. There's so many games that are being added, and even if you buy it like now, you can still get like all of the games that are say coming in tomorrow, so like it keeps updating your per case as well. Yeah, and that's about it. Hope you will join me on this journey. I'll leave a link in the description. There is now, I think, about 6 days left for the bundle, so it's about getting it now. And yes, I'll be playing a little bit, snippet of this game, and probably won't be playing more of it on the channel. Probably gonna do that in my own time, but then you can get kind of a taste for what it might be like. Alright, I think we should just get started. But first, let me just take a sip of water. And now we will begin. This game features text descriptions of non-explicit visual description and non-explicit visual descriptions of blood, gore, torture, cannibalism, sex, and hand-holding. By you continuing, and you agree to do so at your own risk. So as I said, just completely normal human characters. Let me just... Oh, text speed's already all up? You know. They got it. Alright, let's go. I agree. After years of waking up at the same time every day, I've grown far too accustomed to it. Oof, the music is a little loud for me. I'm just gonna put that down a little bit. I've grown far too accustomed to it. I'm awake even before my alarm beetle goes off. The air outside must still be cold from the rain last night. The room feels a little chilly, and there's the strong compulsion to stay curled up in my blanket. My bed is enticingly warm after all. Pardon me. So I decide to remain still until it's absolutely necessary for me to rise. Keeping my eyes closed, I consider what to wear today. The weather today is supposed to be cloudy. Wearing an extra cloak might not be a bad idea. Just one of the lighter ones. The alarm beetle starts chirping, and I lay a hand on it even before its first trill is over, gently silencing it. I crack my eyes open to squint at the light, gently filtering in my room. Get up one more minute. Realistic or not realistic? That's the question, isn't it? I'll keep my eyes closed for just one more minute. I exhale slowly and count to 60. The comfortable haze of sleep threatens to creep back over me, but I ward it off with some effort. 58, 59, 60. Okay, I better get up. Vil, that's our name apparently. Alright, let's get going. I crawl out of bed and begin my usual morning routine. It's become such a... I like the art style. It's become such a deeply ingrained habit that I hardly need to think about what I'm doing. I splash my face with water first, wipe off any pus that's accumulated overnight. Toweling my face off, I return to open the windows and air out the place. The atmosphere outside is crisp from last night's rain. The ground is still a little moist, and there's a pleasant miasma that stings at the nose. Poking my head out the window, I take a few deep breaths to chase off the last tendrils of sleep before withdrawing back inside and making my bed. I find the way to my table to retrieve my usual breakfast, a block of salt and a cup of water. Some people go without eating in the morning, or only drink water, but I've found it hard to last the morning without some salt. The crystals crunch between my teeth as I look for a cloak of appropriate thickness. The cloak I'm looking for turns out to be abandoned in a corner, and I swallow up my mouthful of salt as I pull it on. The salt burns down the full length of my throat, and I wash it down with water. That done, I smooth my hands down the front of my cloak to brush off any stray salt crystals, and to make sure there aren't any unsightly wrinkles. I want to look presentable. Even if I'm just a delivery agent, I still want to look good for my clients. My entire routine doesn't take more than 15 minutes. I've streamlined it well over the years. I glance outside as I close the window. The streets outside are mostly quiet, with only a few people bustling about. The owner of the corner store is quietly sweeping the street. The rhythmic scratch of brush and bristles against the damp dirt echoing down the block. A few crows linger on a nearby roof, muttering to themselves. They seem a bit more excited than usual. My room falls quiet when I close the window. As I leave, I lock the door and jostle it 1, 2, 3 times to make sure it's secure. Then I head down the street. I love these backgrounds. I wish it was like a normal text box so I could fully appreciate the backgrounds. The crowd bellow at me when I walk past them, and I glance up to give them a smile. They remember the crows bellow at me. I was like, what crow? The crowds. They remember people's faces, so it's best to stay on their good side if possible. Past them, the sky is a deeper green than it usually is. I squint and shield my eyes as I look up at the suns. That's right, I'd forgotten. The eclipse is in 2 days. The primary sun looms largest overhead, but its smaller brothers don't lag far behind, the three forming a lopsided triangle. The moon lingers lower down, closer to the horizon, like a pale paper cutout laid against the sky. It's normal for them to be scattered like this, but in 2 days, for just a few moments, they'll all align. 3 suns all overlapping at one point in the sky, blocked from our view by one of our 2 moons. An absolute solar eclipse. Ah, here we are, this is us. Wait, no, this is not us, this is another character. No, wait, it is us. Excited about the eclipse coming up? I give a slight jump when a voice chirrups from behind me. I whirl around so quickly I almost end up entangled in my own cloak. Oh yeah, this is not us. So if you didn't guess it already, this is definitely not humans. Whoa, I didn't mean to scare you there. Sorry about that. No, it's alright, I was just thinking about things. One of my neighbors, Agari, from just down the block. She looks more jittery than usual, a string of saliva dribbling down from her mandibles as she also casts her gaze towards the sky. Oh, it's so exciting, isn't it? Just 2 more days and it will be the eclipse. Are you thinking of doing anything special that day, sweetie? I smile and shake my head. Nothing in particular. I'm just looking forward to seeing it. Oh, that's also fine. But you should think really hard, just in case there is something special you want to do on that day. Well, an absolute solar eclipse only occurs every century or so. A rare event. I squint up at the sky. Pardon me. Because of that, people view it as an auspicious phenomenon. It's said that if you make an important life decision or attempt something new on the day of an absolute solar eclipse, the results are more likely to be favorable. I've never believed in such superstitions, but I know most of the city is looking forward to the eclipse. A lot of people propose to loved ones, explore new areas, or change their jobs on eclipse day. Water sip. As a result, I've heard it's considered something of a headache for the community organizers who need to deal with the chaos. Still, the excitement building in the air is almost palpable. Regardless of my own beliefs, I don't see any reason to squelch anyone else's excitement. I look back to my neighbor. Do you have any plans for the Eclipse Day, Agari? Oh, I do. She gives an excited chirp, clasping her hands together. I'm going to visit a dear friend across town. We had a rather bad fight years ago and haven't spoken since, but we agreed to meet on Eclipse Day to talk things out. I'm sure we'll be able to rekindle our friendship. Her genuine excitement is heartwarming. I can't help smiling as I nod. That sounds wonderful. I hope it goes well. Thank you, dear. Ugh, but I shouldn't keep you for too long. You're on your way to work, aren't you? I nod again. It's alright. It's alright. I always head out early. And it was nice hearing about your plans. Well, good luck on your work. And do think about something to do for Eclipse Day. It would be such a shame to let the opportunity pass by you. I give her a small wave as I turn to leave, and she cheerily returns the gesture. But once I turn the corner, I speed up into a light gallop. Despite what I told her, I hurry a little. I like getting places a little earlier than necessary. Good morning, boss. The air in the salt processing plant stings at the nose, burning at the lungs a little with each breath, and I try not to inhale too deeply. Full-time workers here usually wear masks, unless they happen to have well-developed nasal filters. Since I'm usually in and out of here quickly, I don't bother with masks. Where's your mask? My boss is pretty strict, though. It's alright, boss. I'll be out here pretty quick. No, wear your mask. You'll need to wait a few moments. He thrusts a mask into my hands before I can stop him, then turns away to a nearby table, piled high with packages. I give a slightly exasperated sigh. How many times have we had this exact same exchange before? Although, it's a good indicator of how much the boss cares for his workers, I guess. Yeah, put it on. Might as well just put on the mask. It's a little uncomfortable, especially where the filter brushes against the raw sections of my face, but it does immediately make breathing easier. As I adjust the mask strings, I take a cursory glance around the factory. It's a familiar sight, but its internal workings are always fascinating to watch. A chute at the far end of the room belches out spurts of salt crystals, spilling them into a huge vat. The steady hum of grinding and crunching sometimes seeps through the chute. Is it chute or shoot? I don't know, I'm just gonna say chute. Like the sounds of many small bones being chewed up. On the other side of that chute is the machine that processes the raw salt, breaking it into larger rocks. Any larger rocks into these smaller crystals. The ground up salt needs to be processed further though. The grinding process doesn't get rid of any insects, rocks, or hair clumps that might be present in the raw salt rocks. Workers carry huge buckets of this unprocessed salt to smaller vats that dot the cavernous room. These vats are constantly stirred with long poles, pressing the salt crystals through filters that will catch any unwanted material. The filters quickly clog up with hair and insect wings and need to be swapped out frequently. One vat has a worker carefully adding an enormous bucket of flavoring to it. The scent of honey comes wafting through the air, and I inhale deeply. The sweet slick of honey contrasts beautifully to that familiar crisp sting of salt. Honey salt must be delicious. Maybe I'll get to splurge on it someday. But in order to do that, I need to work. What's my quota look like today? My voice comes out a little muffled past the mask. A little more than usual. I step to the table to help the boss load packages into a cloth bundle. Each package is a block of salt wrapped tight in a piece of fabric. The fabric protects the salt from any moisture while it's in transit and also catches any pieces that might crumble off. Most of the bundles are wrapped in cheap tan fabric. Those are packages of normal salt. But there are a few packages wrapped in red or yellow cloth and even fewer wrapped in white cloth. The white ones are mercury, right? The boss grunts in the affirmative. Mercury salt is such a rare treat that I don't deliver it often. That looks more like, honey and punishment salt than, that looks like more honey and punishment salt than usual, too. People getting excited for the eclipse, treating themselves. Right, of course. The boss counts the packages one last time before tying the bundle shut and handing over to me. There's a rustle of fabric and the crackle of loose salt crystals bumping into each other with each movement, the package weighing heavily in my hands. I tied the fabric over one's shoulder so the bundle won't come loose or jostle around too much while I'm running. And here's the route. He hands me a scrap of paper with just a few notes jotted on it. I've long since memorized my route, and the paper only notes any exceptions. Who doesn't need salt today? Who's getting special salt instead of the usual? Who's getting more packages than normal? Usually, I don't even need this cheat sheet, but there are a lot of exceptions today. It really does seem everyone's changing things up in preparation for the eclipse. All the more reason to avoid making mistakes. I'd hate to deliver people the wrong salt and put a damper on the mood. Got it. Pocketing the note, I give the bundle one last tug with my hand to make sure it's in place before turning towards the door. Right before I push the door open, I remember to take my mask and hand it back to the boss. He gives a snort as he takes it back, waving a hand to shoo me out of my way. As the heavy door lumbers shut, I can hear him call out gruffly, "Take care." Just a tiny sliver of the plant's interior is visible past the closing door, and I give him a wave of the hand before returning back towards the street. Alright, time to begin my route. I've been delivering salt for several years now. Though I was uncertain when an acquaintance first suggested the job to me, I've really warmed up to it since then. The workload is consistent and predictable, my boss is nice, if a little gruff, and the neighborhoods I deliver to are full of friendly people. Hey, starting on your route today? Yep, have a good morning. You too. My hind claws dig in a little into the ground, kicking up small clumps of dirt with each step. I quickly fall into a comfortable galloping gait as I take I can't see what kind of creature we are. As I take a hard left outside the salt processing plant and start heading down the street. Huge slabs of buildings loom overhead on both sides. This block doesn't have many residents as it's mostly factories. I pass by those quickly. No deliveries to make just yet. But I do have one delivery to make at the corner up ahead. The building at the very edge of the block is smaller, its outer walls off-white instead of murky beige. It's not very tall either, but it does have an awesome structure sprouting from its top. A giant tower, clawing up towards the sky, made of bone and coated with smooth flesh. An enormous pair of antennae protrude from the tip of the tower, their chitinous shells gleaming faintly in the sunlight. They whip back and forth at random intervals, as if raking through the air. The numerous eyeballs at the antenna space also blink frequently, their irises swirling about to survey their surroundings. Each one of them whirls around to look at me when I approach, and I give a small wave. The front entrance of the building has a small sign carved into it. The sign reads Community Overlook Center. I open the door and enter. The office interior is much cozier, the air clean and warm. There are a few desks littered with papers, workers busily reading over their contents and filling out other forms. This place always looks busy when I come by. Never hectic though. Despite the steady bustle of productivity, things always seem in control. Not that I know these workers very well. I do wave at a vaguely familiar face, but head straight to the far corner where the tower control pod sits. The pod's nerves crawl up the walls like a giant spider web, thick cables of flesh burrowing into the smooth rock surface. The pod itself is a giant oblong shape, coated in flesh and pulsing gently. The eyeballs embedded in its surface flicker more languidly, a few of them fixing on me as I approach, though they close wetly after a moment of staring. They probably don't want to get squished when the pod opens. There's a loud squelch and a fluid slick flesh when the pod splits open at its center, its two halves nearly sliding apart like a beetle's carapace. A wall of hot, damp air bursts outwards as the pod opens. Ooh. The interior of the pod is oozing with fluid, drips of it spilling out to dot the floor. A thick coating of it obscures the shape of the person sitting inside, until he sits up and stretches his arms. Fluid comes slouching off in sheets, spilling back into the pod's interior as he rises to his feet. There are 2 wet plops of suction as he detaches the pod's nerve cables attached to his temples. Hi, Yeastel. Yeastel towers over me as he straightens up to his full height, the bones of his feet clicking gracefully on the floor when he steps out of the pod. Good morning, Vil. He always talks gently, his voice low. It's a little hard making out what he's saying if the office is ever really busy, but it does make him sound very reassuring, especially when he smiles a little. Diligent as ever, I see. Yeastel leads the way to the table nearby. It's far enough from the pod that there isn't any danger of fluid splashback, which is good. Salt doesn't hold up well to anything wet, and I have a lot of salt to drop off here. My bundle's heavy from the day's worth of salt, and I'm looking forward to lightening it significantly. I start undoing the fabric knot to pull the bundle down on the table. How are things looking today? He gives a small sigh at that, just a warm puff of air that escapes past chitinous lips. I haven't spotted any real troublemakers, but there is certainly a buzz in the air. There does seem to be a little crowd congregating just north of here, so I might have to send someone to check it out later. Hopefully it's just a friendly gathering so I can leave it be. I'd hate to have to get anyone in trouble just before the eclipse. Suggest action, nod sympathetically, agree with leniency. I'm just gonna nod sympathetically. I don't fully understand Yeastel's job, so all I can do is nod, offer sympathy. It does sound like a situation that could go either way. Hopefully it won't cause too much trouble for you, no matter the outcome. Thanks, Vil. It should be alright. I'll just keep a few eyes on them for a while. Yeastel's job seems busy at the best of times, and I can imagine it only grows more difficult during times of excitement, like around the eclipse. There aren't very many people who can handle the pressure of being the town's overlook, especially since the overlook pod is apparently a strain to operate. But Yeastel's been loved by everyone since he took the job. Highly attentive and quick to respond, he's the key in maintaining the town's peace, because he's able to spot troublemakers so quickly and send officials to stop them before too much damage is done. It's done a lot to discourage crime. That, on top of being an all-around nice guy. Excuse me. Water drink. Water drink. Water sip. The fabric finally comes undone, and I settle it on the table before digging through my pockets for the note. Alright, it says here that you need 24 packets of salt. Alright, it says here that you need 24 packets of salt today, correct? Correct. 24 then. Yeastel doesn't eat the 24 packets of salt for himself, of course. As the community overlook, he's also in charge of keeping an eye out for people who are ill or injured or have fallen on hard times. Anyone who might have difficulty procuring their own salt. These 24 packets will be distributed to such people. That's a little more than usual, right? Is the eclipse causing any trouble? I lay out the salt packages in stacks of 4. In a sense. Yeastel gives a slightly sheepish laugh. It's not trouble, but I wanted to ensure that people aren't struggling for salt during a time as joyous as the eclipse. I'll be giving out a little extra to people who are having a hard time. My heart warms with admiration. That's really nice of you. I'm sure they really appreciate it. 6 stacks of 4, 24 packets of salt lay neatly on the table, and I make sure Yeastel's giving it an approving nod before tying my bundle back over my shoulder. Speaking of the eclipse, do you have any plans? Everyone's so excited about the eclipse. I shake my head. Not really. Might go out to watch it, I guess. Yeastel laughs gently. He has a raspy laugh, in contrast to his lilting voice. You sound awfully unimpressed with the eclipse. I guess I'm just pretty satisfied with where I am right now. I know the eclipse is supposed to be good luck if you're making any big decisions, but I don't have any decisions to make. Decisions. I shift the bundle on my shoulder, and it comes out like a shrug. Maybe if I try taking a different route on my delivery that day, I'll find a shortcut. That would be nice. It would make your life a little easier, I suppose. Do you have any plans? There's a pause. Yisto looks thoughtful, a finger tapping at his chin before his lips curve in a smile. I might. I'm still deciding. But you know, Vil. Yisto reaches out to touch my shoulder. Despite the hard bones of his fingers, the gesture is soft and comforting, the squeezing just briefly before giving a tender pat and then pulling away. The eclipse really is a special time. Not just because of the eclipse itself, but because everyone is so excited and happy. I don't think it would be a bad idea to take advantage of that unique energy in the air. I give a small smile. Alright, I'll give it some thought. Alright, I'm looking at the little timer on my clock, and I think this is all I'm going to have time for. We didn't get very far into the story because this is quite a wordy game. It's written quite well, and I am incredibly intrigued by just the whole plot and the world building. It set up its story really well, and I'm super interested in seeing more, which I am going to do in my own time. If you want to see this game, or any of the other games I'm going to be playing, and a lot more, like a lot more, it's probably going to be over 1,000 games if I'm at some point. It's almost like insane. If you want that, there's a link in the description where you can get the bundle. It supports a really important and good cause. I'm not sponsored or anything. I just do this because I think it's kind of important. And I think that's all. I will see you tomorrow. And until then, I hope you're all staying safe. And goodbye.